All right. We are headed to... Where are we headed to? Parker.
Parker. The casino.
Hang on. And we want to get... We have the dogs on camera. The first thing that happened was Dottie appropriated little buddy's bed. And little buddy's a little confused. Not sure whether it's going to be okay to get in Dottie's bed.
I wonder why he doesn't just get in his blankie.
Well, because Dottie's right in front of the blanket.
Oh.
Can you not see that?
No, there's a glare. Okay. Huh.
So, you guys don't realize, but my iPhone is attached to the dash, and the video's on of the inside of my RV, and we're looking at Dottie and Dottie just barked at Kathleen's dog, little buddy, who is kind of hiding around the corner, and then I can see her dog's ear very faintly because she's hiding on the other side of a cabinet, but Dottie has a direct view of him. And then I can see George's fur.
Is that Buddy?
No, that's Dottie.
Oh, that's
Dottie.
She's got some hunting dog in it, isn't she? That's a beagle.
Dottie, no. Stop barking.
She says, uh-oh, that's the voice of God. Where did it come from?
I signed up for that Life Flight thing this morning.
How do you sign up for it?
Oh, you go online. It's like $79 a year. Made sure that the local helicopter was in network. What are you trying to do?
I just turned it to the cold, fresh air.
So where would you have them life flight you to?
Well, that probably won't be up to me, and the decision to life flight is not up to you as a patient.
Oh, okay. So they just fly you to the nearest
Depends on what your situation is.
medical center? Or?
Well, it all depends on what their medical control says and what the decision their doctor makes, and whether the paramedics can make an independent decision. Usually not.
How much gas they have. I'm teasing. It's not how much gas they have.
But a lot of people get the insurance thinking if something happens, they can just call for a helicopter. Well, it's natural to think that, but it's not true.
When I was a paramedic, we used to get a lot of labor and delivery calls.
We did too on the Navajo reservations. I helped deliver a set of twins.
I helped deliver a Samsonite carry-on, because that's all we ever got was ladies standing at the curb with their luggage ready to go to the hospital.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Well,
I never got a delivery.
We used to fly over to the Navajo reservation from
That would be cool.
from our helipad at William Beaumont Medical Center, and we would bring back women that were having labor issues.
I had the closest I ever got, and it wasn't that close. This woman was in labor in the back of the ambulance, and I was trying to time contractions, and she wasn't being real clear, and I had my hand on her top of her stomach, and I felt one, and I'm like, whoa, that's what a contraction feels like from the outside. It kind of went like that. It was pretty obvious.
Yeah, it
like,
is.
wow, okay, that's one.
Yep. Check. Yep. Yes. See, when I was going through paramedic training, we didn't have automatic defibrillators at all. So you literally had to wait.
Either at the
You had to time, right? So you had to look at the rhythm and time when you were going to shock, and you had to look at the joules and decide how much shock you were going to give, like 400 joules or whatever, remember?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And the first life pack that we had, I think it was a life pack 3 or 4, and we called it the boat anchor because it was as big as this
huge.
thing.
Yeah, they were huge.
Ginormous.
We had Life Pack 15s.
Yeah. I'm telling you, Rob, it was a while back when I did it.
And what you're talking about, looking at the rhythm, is doing a cardio version, right? Not a.
Right. If
You're
someone
not
was in VTAC,
defibrillating.
if they were in VTAC or whatever, you have to. Right. But if you were, you still had to look at the screen regardless. Like there was nothing that, like from what I understand now, you just put the pads on and the thing reads and then it does what it wants to
It does.
do.
It tells you.
It tells you
stand back.
what's going on.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well-
someone in VTAC isn't dead.
Yeah.
Someone
You're really close, but yeah, okay.
ventricular fibrillation, they're dead. They're not pumping.
That's what happened to my dad.
Oh.
They're not pumping blood. But the most interesting one I ever had was, you'll both probably find this interesting since you're both medical, is we had a cardiac arrest. A guy was in front of an audience doing a presentation, and we were like on the stage, and they're doing compressions on the guy, and I was just watching because the paramedic was there ahead of me, and he was more experienced than me anyway.
Yeah.
And he was surrounded by firefighters, and I'm looking at the pattern. It was obvious to me and the paramedic and everyone else it was VFib.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a firefighter with his hand inside the leg, and he said, "Chief, I have a pulse here." And the paramedic looks at me and he says, "What the hell do I do?" And this firefighter was a very experienced, like, I didn't doubt him. There was no reason to doubt him. He was no rookie. And I'm like, I think we keep shocking him. I mean, it's like, I don't know, we weren't detecting breathing. We weren't, the finger thing wasn't picking up a pulse.
Yeah.
And we looked, but I said, we're going to load and go.
Right.
So we did the best we could on the way in. I'm watching the monitor, and there was a flash for a second on the monitor where I thought, well, that looked like that torsades thing that I learned about in school. There's just a flash of it.
Mm-hmm.
So the guy survived, and our medical director was a cardiologist.
Mm-hmm.
So I told him the story, and I said, this guy had a pulse with VFib, and the doctor's like, "No, Rob, he didn't know." I said, "I'm telling you, he did." He's saying, he goes, "Send me the strip
Mm-hmm.
from the life pack."
Mm-hmm.
"You're wrong. As much as you think you're right, you're wrong." And he looked at it and he said, "It was torsades."
So I can't remember what torsades is. What?
It's a sort of an uneven kind of wavy thing,
Mm-hmm.
and I think if I remember, you treat it with magnesium sulfate.
What is the heart doing during torsades?
I don't remember.
Oh. Okay.
You'd have to look it up. I really don't
Okay.
remember. But it's torsades. You have a pulse, but it's very irregular. But it's sort of a wavy, distinctive pattern. You know what I'm talking about, right?
And the heart's not really functioning very well at that.
Right.
Right. So you were sort of right.
But it's rare.
You were right that he had a pulse
I
then.
don't know that
Well,
I
he had a
don't know
pulse.
that I ever saw
But
that.
what I was wrong about, he wasn't in VFib, and we shouldn't have been shocking him.
Oh.
Shocking him is not the treatment for torsades. Magnesium sulfate is. But, when you looked at the monitor and the strip, 99% of it, unless you're a cardiologist, you would think it was VFib.
So he came back though.
Oh, yeah.
In the ER, they did a full code and he came back.
I don't remember exactly what they did in the ER.
they
This
did
was like
something.
10 years ago.
Yeah.
So. But I remember he survived, and I remember that the doctor was saying...
My dad fell over and was having tachycardia and went into cardiac arrest at a family gathering, and I was sitting in the chair right beside him, and I don't know where I got the strength, but I picked my father up. He's just slumped over in his chair.
Mm-hmm.
I knew right away just by looking at him what was happening.
Mm-hmm.
I picked him up, put him on the ground, and started CPR on my dad.
Wow.
And managed to keep Daddy going till the ambulance got there, and then he arrested again. They let me ride with him in the ambulance, and
Mm-hmm.
they ended up shocking him in the ambulance.
Mm-hmm.
But he did okay for a little while. He lived for a couple more years after that.
Wow, you saved his life.
Yeah. Then he
You
had,
get it that he died, right?
Then he had
Well, we
a
all
couple years
die.
later.
I thought.
He.
Oh, this isn't the one where he didn't make it.
No, this was he. A couple years later, he had a stroke, and then passed away.
So who was telling the story last night about doing CPR on their father, and they said,
Oh, I don't know. It wasn't me.
was it Judy? And the who was it telling
Oh,
the story?
one that was-
on her husband.
Yeah,
Yeah,
on
that
her
was-
husband.
is that
yeah,
Judy?
okay, I
Yeah.
got it mixed up.
Yeah.
Very similar story. She
The
said
one-
there could have been a doctor on either side of him and he wouldn't have
Right.
survived.
Yeah,
Right.
that was Judy.
That was Judy. Okay, I'm sorry. I got very confused. Those are similar
They were
stories.
similar and heartbreaking. Yeah, you're right.
But you're like, yeah, Rob, people do eventually die.
We all do. I mean,
It's like, I won't argue with you, Rob. He was born in 1912. He's probably not living anymore.
just saying.
Just saying. I don't want to argue with you. You're a smart man. This will be good video. Oh boy. So my best story was I was in training and we had a woman in her living room that was like severe tachycardia. And what's the drug that resets the heart?
Lidocaine?
No, the drug that like stops the heart.
Epinephrine?
No, it stops the heart.
I thought that was lidocaine.
No, I can't remember the name of the drug, but
I don't either. Been too many
It's not
years.
acetylcholine.
no, it's a drug. I'm thinking amiodarone, but that's not it. That's an antiarrhythmic.
You'll think of it. Anyway, it stops
But
the heart.
anyway-
and then it resets it.
Right, and there's two that you start with like a 6 milligram dose, and then if that doesn't work, at 12. So I made two big mistakes. The guy, my preceptor, was watching me going, "Oh God," because I said to the woman, "We're going to give you this drug, and it's going to stop your heart." And he's like, "Oh my God!" But that wasn't even the worst part. So I was nervous and confused, and it
Right.
was a pre-filled syringe,
Yeah.
which I thought like a regular, you needed to sort of purge the air out of
Right.
it, which you don't. So I'm kneeling in front of her. She's on the couch, and her cat is like on the back of the couch next to her.
no.
And I went to purge it, and a stream came out and hit her cat in the face.
Oh my God! Did it stop the cat's heart? No.
Oh, hopefully.
No, but it stopped me treating the client, the patient. The preceptor stepped in and said, "If I'm gonna have you observe from now. We're gonna finish this." I was pretty embarrassed, but it was years later. It was damn funny.
Yes. Oh my God.
That was a hard lesson.
Okay, I'm gonna tell you my hard lesson, but I don't.
I got another one too. So after you're done, I
Okay.
got a second one that's almost as stupid.
Okay, when I was in one of my first jobs as a therapist, I worked in the midnight shift at an emergency mental health hospital, right? So I had to do this long psychosocial evaluation, and I had to ask all these questions about, this poor person who had been involuntarily brought to the hospital, usually by the police, and then they were always in crisis, right?
Right.
So I'd ask all these questions, I'd get all this information, I'd be typing. One of the last questions that I had to ask, I realized I was really asking it wrong, because one of the last questions was, have you considered suicide?
Jesus. And they were there because they.
And the way I said it was like, have you considered suicide? As if that would be like a viable option, given everything they had just told me.
Have you ever considered perhaps maybe just
Have
suicide?
you thought about suicide?
When I was an intern, like one of my first, if not my first, client ever was was a woman with bipolar disorder in her 40s, and she'd been getting treatment for therapists for 20 years. And I was still in school. This is like the precepting thing in school. And she was very nice. And at the end of the session, she said, "Would you like me to give you some constructive feedback?" I said, "Yes, of course." She said, "Well, first off, you're in session eating an apple. That's not okay. You shouldn't eat during the session, and you looked at your watch at least 6 or 8 times." And I was mortified. I apologized to her, and I never ate in a session again and never looked at my watch again. And that woman did me a big favor. But my other big one was I was in the back of an ambulance with a client, and I couldn't get a line. I couldn't get an IV in, and she was nauseous. And I had, what's the not Zofran, but the other one, the older one, starts with an F. Do you remember?
Well, it's not Fioricet. That's for pain. That's a pill.
Well, it doesn't matter what it's called.
Yeah.
But what does matter is the route is intravenous only. Zofran, you could do a nasal. So I figure if I can do a nasal with Zofran, I should be able to do nasal with this one. So I, in her nose, in her eyes pop open, she started yelling because it was burning her.
Oh, Lord.
And I had the presence of mind to grab a saline syringe and just flush it out.
Thank
It was
God.
fine.
Thank
But
God.
oh my God, I felt so bad and so
Lord.
stupid.
Yeah, no, you can't make that kind of cognitive leap with the routes of admission.
No, well, that's the lesson I learned. That was the lesson.
I remember it's weird what you remember. I remember we ran on this lady in the middle of the night in Winter Park, and it was like 1 a.m, right? A beautiful young lady, and she was in the public bathroom. She had gone to put in eye drops and accidentally put in nail glue into her eyeball.
Oh.
That happened a lot.
Yes, we loaded and went, but we quickly ran out of everything water that we had on the ambulance. We irrigated and flushed it with everything.
You were like IV bags?
Yeah, everything.
Emptied your IV bags?
We had some women that came into the ER that had that very same thing happen to them. They used the super glue instead of
eye drops.
Oh, just the thought of that.
Yeah.
So that's actually all my stupid mistake stories. That's only 3. That's not bad.
We used to have something we called it the Grand Canyon Syndrome, where we'd be driving down the road in the ambulance and look in the back and there'd be no stretcher. We'd be like, oh, crap.
Whoops.
Okay, we gotta turn around.
I've heard of that, but I was never guilty of it.
Oh yeah.
I did, I was on scene once, I just remembered this. I went to move one of our new ambulances, and the siren went off, and I couldn't shut it off. I couldn't, it was like attached to the horn or something strange. And there was a big crowd of people, and I was pretty embarrassed. I'm not sure, but I think somebody had to run over and shut it off. I couldn't shut it off. I was about to get out and disconnect the battery.
cut the cable.
Oh.
I believe it.
That's too funny.
So people, you guys listening to this on YouTube, you're probably thinking, thank God I wasn't taken care of by either of those 2 idiots. But the reality is, when you're learning, you make, whether you're a doctor, a nurse, or a paramedic, when you're learning, you make mistakes. And hopefully you don't make mistakes.
And the second thing is you're always learning throughout your career.
Yeah. And hopefully you don't make mistakes that really do any permanent harm, or God forbid. That was
That was our friend.
yeah. Should we check and see if she's okay?
I kind of wonder about that.
What?
We just passed Judy.
Yeah.
Is she on the side of the road?
Yeah.
She's turned off at a turnout little place. Can we call her?
Yeah.
Yeah, why don't you call her, and
Yeah.
I'll pull over right here. And then if we need to turn around. she may just be resting or something happening with Gertie. And if she doesn't answer, we need to turn around and find out what's going on.
Just a minute.
Well, actually, as soon as this car goes, I'm just going to turn
I
around.
gotta try to find her phone number. This is her right here.
Code 1.
I don't know if this is the right Judy.
Not code 3?
No.
All I could think of is she's worried about something with Gertie and she pulled over.
I was looking down at my phone, so I didn't even see her. I don't know if that's the right Judy or not.
You know, I just the image just flashed in my head going, that's a Class C, but that's a match.
Yep. Good eye.
Wow.
What's going on here?
What's going on, baby? Honk at her so she'll...
She's still got her little Christmas hat on.
We were a little concerned.
No, we just had a poop stop.
So-
Downfalls of that. Good.
So I just needed to turn the recording back on. Just tell people that she's okay. We turned around and she was making a pit stop for her little dog. It was Gertie, who's 16 years old, sweet dog. So she's okay. And we're about 20 minutes or so away, would you say, Cheryl?
Yeah.
And before we saw that, we were talking about how, you know, in the medical business, doctors, nurses, paramedics, you learn therapists, you learn by making mistakes, and hopefully, you know, the mistakes don't cause permanent damage. But did you see the news thing about the paramedics that got charged with murder?
Yes, with the ketamine.
Yeah.
I didn't understand those protocols at all.
Well, they decided that the guy had excited delirium syndrome, and they miscalculated they gave double the dose for his weight. They documented his weight at like 80 pounds more than he was.
Oh my gosh.
And I think the problem was that this guy was innocent and the cops were really overreacting, and the paramedics just jumped in with the cops' judgment, and the guy, he didn't die right away. He died a couple days later, but they said the direct cause or indirect cause was the ketamine overdose.
Yeah, we used to use that for anesthesia for cats.
Yeah, it's an animal tranquilizer, right?
Horses initially, right? That's what I always think. But now it's being used for depression.
Also,
and that's what
Matthew, what's his name? Perry.
Because I went from human
Matthew
medicine
Perry.
to animal
Yes.
medicine.
And I was doing research on ketamine for depression, and it's actually pretty interesting. It's used for treatment-resistant depression, and I've been studying it because I have 2 male patients that have severe treatment-resistant depression, and they both had ketamine treatments. And what it does is, and I really connected with this because of the presentation of these 2 patients, where they get into this repetitive negative thought cycle that they can't break out of, even though intellectually they know what's going on. They still can't get out of the very deep feelings of worthlessness and lack of hope. And ketamine apparently temporarily gives you a pause in that kind of thinking to be able to maybe reset your cognitive processes, because the half-life is only a couple hours. It's not like an antidepressant where it's doing something for any long period of time. It's a very temporary thing, and it didn't work for either one of my clients.
Okay, they weren't in a study for this though, right?
No, they knew
they were getting ketamine.
Oh, absolutely.
They got it. Okay.
Yeah. And Matthew Perry knew he was getting ketamine.
Yeah. But he was also like, they said his scheduled dose wasn't on the day of his death, and yet he had enough in his system that they felt like he was self-administering.
Well, I think it was self-administering. There were like 3 different ways he was getting ketamine treatments.
infusion by the doctor was one
Right.
of them because they
And
said the
one of them is he
infusion-
was doing it at home, and it's like, I don't know whether it's an IM injection or something, or probably I would imagine.
I read
Well,
somewhere
yeah,
that people were
IV.
doing intranasally. Though.
Intranasally,
Well,
okay,
yeah.
that could be too.
Usually it's IV though.
Yeah.
Yeah, but at home it wouldn't be IV.
Unless
Well,
you're a
look at Michael
druggie. Unless you're a
Jackson.
druggie. I had a
Propofol,
friend who got a hold of some ketamine.
Yeah.
He was a drug addict.
And
He
all
used to
indications
inject it.
were he wasn't using it recreationally. He was
Yeah.
trying to treat his depression. But back to my two patients, and both of them are, I spent a lot of time worrying about both of them. Very similar presentations, very similar age. It's easy to mix them up, by the way, which I did once. It wasn't that bad, but I mixed them up.
Mm-hmm.
Often I've had them back to back sessions by coincidence, but they also both did TMS and the magnetic thing, and it didn't work. And one of them did ECT
Yeah.
and had a dramatic recovery.
That's what I thought. That's why I was confused at first because I knew that one of them had done ECT. So that's
Yeah.
what it worked.
So I was with his permission, I was telling my other client about his experience. And the side effects are real. They're temporary, but my other patient says he'll like have total short-term memory blocks.
Right.
Yeah, and it's very unsettling.
I'm sure it is unsettling. Well, it's definitely not a first-line treatment, but if you've tried everything else and it's not working and you're at risk, then
Yeah, I mean, these people with this kind of treatment-resistant depression are at very high risk for suicide.
yes,
And it's very troubling when you have a patient like that.
I know. And who would have thought? We are such a fun bunch on Christmas Day, aren't we?
I forgot.
I'm
It is
sure
Christmas.
everyone would
Is
like to
everyone
ride
out
with
there in
us.
YouTube land enjoying the Christmas video?
Ho ho ho! You too could be depressed.
I choose to blame Kathleen.
You
for
better
this.
watch out. You better not cry.
You better not. I'm
telling you why.
One of these
Kathleen
two
and
will
Rob are
be
coming to town.
One of these two will be your therapist.
And this one will be your nurse in surgery. Oh. It's not totally unnatural to think about life and death stuff on Christmas.
Correct.
Really? I mean,
Well, so many people suffer severe depression at this time of year.
yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
They're alone, they don't have family, they don't have anybody.
Or they're not alone. They have family and they're miserable.
Yeah, having family isn't necessarily a positive thing.
It's not
All the
always a
time.
cure.
Not always.
A lot of people are miserable and
Hey guys,
get
I'm
real.
speeding.
Did not to speed. No speed.
I need to go 55 because I think we're in
I think if you do
reservation
60,
land, and
if you do 60 here, they don't bother you.
60.
Yeah,
Okay, I just want to
I
make
always
sure.
do. I always just set my.
This
thing
guy's
at
gonna
60.
whiz right by me, I bet.
Let
Well,
them whiz, because if the Navajo
The
people,
tribal police.
tribal police get you, they're not very forgiving.
and it's beautiful out here in the desert in its own deserty way. I have our emergency bottled water just in case anything happens.
Oh, okay.
Therefore,
I am hooked on that You Shouldn't Be Alive series, which I don't think they make them anymore, but I've seen like all the episodes, and getting lost in the desert is a big thing.
that would be scary.
I shouldn't be
wouldn't it?
alive. I shouldn't be alive is the name of it, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't it?
Yeah.
I've seen a bunch of those too. I don't think they
That's
do
a
it
scary
anymore.
thought.
Yes.
That's why I don't own a side by side. I'd probably get out there and never find my way back.
Well, if you have an iPhone, I think 14 or greater, then you can make calls by satellite.
Well,
from anywhere.
And now you have GPS too. GPS works out in the desert.
Well, it doesn't work if you're out in the desert and know where you are and can't move. You need to be able to
That's true.
get somebody to rescue you.
Well, you could put in home.
I don't know. I took my Ford Focus out in the desert into the non-vehicle area.
Did you?
Well, yeah, Rob had to come get me.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
That's right.
Oh, that's funny, Kathleen.
That was when I first got to Quartzsite, and I was trying to get back, and it was almost dark, and
Oh,
And
you
she
got
went.
lost?
Well, she went to go into the back way, and
Yes.
instead of turning into La Posa South, she turned right and went into
Tyson
Tyson
Wash.
Oh.
Without knowing it.
Tyson Wash.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah. I
And
can
she's
see.
telling me, describing these things like, I'm by a water tower, and I'm thinking, there's no water tower anywhere in La Posa South.
That's right.
I really had a hard time imagining where she was.
Oh my
And I'm
gosh.
driving around at random in La Posa South. And thank God a couple on a side-by-side found her and told her where she was,
Oh my
and
gosh.
led her back to the entrance.
All the way back. And I was
Wow.
like one phone call away from a silver alert in their eyes. They were like, they took me back to the entrance, and then I tried to wave them off, and they were like, no, come up here. And then they looked me in the eyes and they said, do you know where you are now? I said, yes. And my friend is coming to meet me. And they were like, okay, stay here. But then
Oh.
I called Robin. I'm like, I'm at the entrance. And he's like, no, you're not.
Because I was at the entrance and she wasn't there.
Oh.
But that's when I found out she was in the other
I
LT.
was in the
Across the
other
street.
entrance.
You
Because I
Across the
looked up and then I saw her next to the other entrance.
Oh,
Yes.
my gosh. That's easy to do.
It is easy to do.
Very
Especially if it's starting to get darker.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I can get lost, walk into your trailer, Cheryl.
Oh, I
can get
know.
lost.
Listen.
I got lost dropping Yvonne off when she was in camp and driving back. I had to stop the car and get out and look around to figure out,
Where you
okay, because at the time there weren't a lot of lights in our camp.
were. Yeah.
And I literally got lost
It would be easy. That's
200
why,
yards away from
That's
camp.
why that night we all went to Silly Al's.
Mm-hmm. The birthday party night?
Yeah, the birthday party night. That's why I had only been, there in camp a short time, and I didn't feel very confident about driving and finding it after dark.
Well, when I came back that night, I was trying to make use of the tiny bit of twilight left, so I booked it back. But when I made that turn into what was, the back exit or entrance, I had to stop and get out because I couldn't tell what was the next thing.
Yeah.
And it would have been really easy to put myself in a ditch.
Oh, listen, we had the last couple days. There's been 2 huge motorhomes that have buried themselves in the washes.
Oh my.
Yeah,
Two? I didn't know about
both of
two.
them had to be towed out.
Oh
Wow.
dear.
Had to call professional tow people because everybody tried. They hooked up 2 pickup trucks to it, facing different directions,
Mhm.
and they tried to pull him out. First, they tried a Jeep, and that
Mhm.
didn't work.
Oh wow.
I mean, he was buried in that wash. It was a
Oh.
couple washes up from where we are.
A pull behind camper?
No,
It was a class,
motorhome.
Class A.
Class A
Oh, my
motorhome.
goodness.
Probably about a 40-footer.
Oh my gosh.
And he was buried. He
Oh,
was
wow.
buried in that wash. And then a friend of mine posted on Facebook another one that also did the same thing.
Oh.
So I think it was up
Scary.
somewhere near by the spot where he
Oh, boy.
buried himself.
Well, I didn't see it, but I went there later, and there were BLM people with shovels out there
Oh.
trying to repair the damage that apparently was done
Yeah.
to the road.
Yeah.
Wow. Mm.
Now, do you guys have a player's card?
No, I have to.
Okay,
we
you know
both
where
have-
to. I can show you where to go to get it if you don't know. You may already know.
I have no idea. I've never been here before.
Oh, okay. Well,
I've
then
never
I'll be
been
glad
there.
to point you in the right direction.
It's free, but you
what-
got to get a player's
Yeah,
card.
yeah.
What
it's
is that
free.
going to entitle me to, Miss Cheryl?
Get you a discount
At
for
the
the buffet.
Yeah. Otherwise, it's probably
Otherwise, it's like
$40.
30 something dollars.
Yeah.
But with a player's card, it's only 24.
Well, sign me up. I'm ready.
You just have to have a form of identification to give them at the counter. I'll show you what it looks like.
So you're a player?
Did you have
I am a
you have a passport?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. Do I need one on me right now?
No. I was just wondering
This is
if
what
you
the
got
player
into
card looks
Mexico.
like.
I always want to talk to people that get in and out of Mexico
nice.
without a passport.
Oh, no, I never wanted to take a chance. I've got a passport. I've always had a passport.
People like Daryl doesn't have a passport.
I know. I
Doesn't
was
he use
nervous.
military papers or something? Military?
His old military
He uses his
ID.
military ID,
Yeah.
I guess.
Driver's license.
But I was nervous that day we went to Mexico. I was like, oh, Lord, I hope he doesn't have any trouble.
No, I wouldn't have been nervous. He went probably 6 times with us last year.
The first time we
Oh,
went...
well, I didn't know that.
Yeah, at least 6 times.
First time I had my passport, and then I had my passport card hidden on me just in case I got mugged or something. I had my passport card as a backup.
That's smart.
After
I carry
that-
mine in my wallet.
Yeah, after that I was like,
I have a card. I didn't, when I renewed my passport, I didn't have plans to travel back over to Europe anytime soon. So I just got
Is there right
the
on right
card.
after stopping?
Yes.
I think so.
Yes, there is.
I want to go to Nova Scotia.
But maybe not in
guys.
the reservation, because this is very odd that Parker is actually in the reservation.
I didn't know that.
It is.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I figured that out when a couple years ago when the pandemic was still going and they were super strict about masks in Walmart.
They were
and it was
very strict.
tribal police were stationed there
Yep.
to enforce it.
Wow.
They were very, very strict about the COVID problem here in Parker. And at the casino, too.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's pretty natural that Native American people are sensitive about diseases
Yeah.
that may sweep through their community.
Yeah. It's a historical basis.
And not very trusting of the federal government with damn good reason.
I'll drink to that.
Have you been to this casino before? Oh,
I've been to the Walmart here.
okay. Well, I guess I'm the only veteran.
Yeah, you are.
I'm the Blue Water veteran.
And you're the only veteran also.
Wait.
Thank you for your service.
Oh, you are so welcome.
Yeah,
It's
there's
my
the
honor.
Safeway on the right, and we're passing Walmart on the left. But you guys on YouTube can't see it because the camera is facing us instead of the road.
Yeah, the
You can
casino
maybe
is,
see a little bit of where we've been
yeah,
if you
the
look
casino
beyond
is
Cheryl's head.
coming up on the left.
I'm impressed that this GoPro camera's been going the whole trip, but we've expected it to crap out and overheat or whatever.
Have the big one.
So I'm going to shut off the little. So as it turns out, we weren't allowed to do any video shooting in the casino, but we could in the restaurant. So this is the shots of the buffet. We were at the head of the line, so it had just opened. Everything's real fresh. You know, these containers, you can maybe read what they say. I didn't open all of those, but I got a nice shot here of this. The prime rib was really, really good, and you could see how big a piece they give you. And here's some other things I got shots of. Sadly, I didn't get shots of the desserts because the desserts and the prime rib were the best part of this whole thing by far. Deborah, we are here on
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to Deborah and Frugal and Jana.
Merry Christmas, Deborah and Jana. We miss you, but we understand that you can't be here. Merry Christmas.
Deborah, we are here on
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to Deborah and Frugal and Jana.
Merry Christmas, Deborah and Jana. We miss you, but we understand that you can't be here. Merry Christmas.
You got me. Merry Christmas, and I wish you were here, but you're here in spirit for sure. Okay, so here we are. We made it to the Blue Water Casino, right? And the winner of the most creative is going to be Kathleen. She got a little serving of everything. She's very proud of herself. And guess who's still wearing the festive hat? And then, as a runner-up, we think we have a pretty good selection here from Cheryl.
Absolutely.
And then last but not least, Lisa. Very conservative there, Lisa. Very conservative.
I'm going back up.
She's going back, okay. And then here's mine. It's great to be with friends on Christmas Day, Blue Water Casino.
Yay. Absolutely. Merry Christmas.
So this is the indoor pool facility, which includes down on the left there, there's a hot tub, but all sorts of pools and stuff. And if you're dry camping out here, it costs anywhere from $27 to $60. The pool's included, but down here are the expensive ones. They call these things cabanas. The covered picnic tables are right on the river. Those are $60. The ones that don't have cabanas are 50, and then up in the parking lot, it's $27 a night. But I noticed there's nobody down here in the expensive ones at all, so maybe that'll mean they'll reduce the price. But it's the Colorado River there. Be a nice place to dry camp, that's for sure. But $60, it's a little steep. You can see the last few sites down here that don't have the cabanas, those are $50. So that's still pretty steep for no hookups, but definitely a beautiful view of the river, and it'd be fun to be down here, I think, camping. Well, that concludes my Christmas Day video with shots of what it's like down by the river behind the casino. And I hope you all enjoyed the whole thing. I certainly had a lot of fun today making it. So I hope you had a wonderful holiday like I did, and I'll see you in the next video. Um, the desserts, and it's unfortunate because the desserts were the two really cool things about this buffet.